3.19 Lake of Kalandra is here. And as always, when a new league happens, you really need a solid build to be able to get you through all of the content, experience all the new cool stuff, and Lake of Kalandra has a lot to do. We've got a new mechanic that looks extremely similar to Synthesis, one of my favorite leagues of all time. We've got a bunch of reworks and a bunch of really cool stuff going on in this league. If you've got a bit of time before the league actually begins, go check out some of my recent videos talking about all the big, massive changes that we are getting in 3.19. There's a lot to be excited about. Now, as I said, you need a good league start build, and I've spent a little bit of time looking through what all of the community has been choosing, and I've got 5 builds that are guaranteed to give you an absolutely excellent league start. And if they don't, well, my lawyer said I'm not responsible for the title of a YouTube video, so boys, 3.19 is here. You need a build guide, and I've got a couple for you to look at. So in this video, we're going to go over what I think are the 5 most effective and best league start builds for you to be choosing, and there'll be a couple honorable mentions afterwards as well. So remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. And without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with our first build, if you have decided that you want to be an absolute degenerate meta slave and you really just don't want to play something different this league, and your previous build that you used every league, Seismic Trap, got a pretty hefty nerf, which, by the way, Seismic Trap's probably still fine, by the way, but you want to play something really strong, well, EA Ballistas is still going to be one of the most powerful builds in the game, and there's a couple different varieties that you can choose from. As of right now of recording this video, we've got Palsteron, who's got his updated Explosive Arrow Ballista Elementalist. This is kind of an update video talking about all of the nerfs and such that did happen. And then if you're in hardcore or you want something a little tankier, Zizaran does have an updated video talking about Explosive Arrow Champion. Now, I would suggest, since like 95% of you or more probably in softcore, I would go with Palsteron's version just because Elementalist is probably going to be a little bit more fun, do a little bit more damage, but the champion version is okay as well. Next on the list, to absolutely no one's surprise, we have Pohx's RF build. Now, I just gotta say, Pohx is like legitimately a man of focus, commitment, and sheer will. This beautiful man has spent essentially the last, I don't even know how long, making RF as good as it can humanly possibly be. The dude literally has, okay, like look at this. The dude literally has a website, okay, that is titled Pohx's RF Wiki TM. He has a website dedicated to one Path of Exile build. One. I don't think I've ever seen someone with a more like in-depth anything for any build. Like look at this, bro. Look at this. This is absurd. It's got tags for all of the different things that you could have problems with, like answers and questions and all. It's absolutely absurd. If you want easily the most in-depth guide that we have ever seen for this game, shout out to Inky, by the way. Your arc build is unfortunately been dethroned by this madness. If you want a very solid build that has basically any question that you could imagine in your mind, and you can search it by tag, I mean, what else do you need at this point, right? Like this is absolutely absurd, if I'm going to be honest with you. Absolutely insane. Pohx's RF build is very good for people who have like issues with clicking too much, want a very tanky build. It's very simple to play, does pretty good clear, pretty good single target. You can scale it absolutely to the moon and invest a whole bunch of money into it. It's just an all over really solid build. Pohx is a cool guy. He's been streaming, making content for basically ever in Path of Exile. I remember watching him years ago when he was playing Fire Trap, and to think all of these years later, he's still playing Fire Trap. He's just got RF on top of it. Next on the list, we have a build that I think at this point is probably one of the most prolific builds in the entire game. You could probably play this build on every single ascendancy there is, and that's not even exactly like completely a joke. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about Lightning Strike. As you can see, it can be played on a champion, a raider, berserker. There's even some people playing it on like an assassin, a juggernaut, a pathfinder, inquisitor. There's people playing it on basically every ascendancy, and I think with a new update to Trickster, I actually kind of feel like Lightning Strike Trickster is gonna be pretty good. It can use a lot of different masteries. There's a ton of stuff that could be good about Lightning Strike Trickster. You'll probably see at least somebody try to make that this league. Now, there's a variety of guides. As you get later into the league, you'll notice it becomes more and more champion. Reason for this is I think champion scales up a little bit higher and is potentially maybe a little bit stronger. Raider is also pretty good early on. If you're looking for the champion version, Crouching Tuna does have a pretty updated guide. It is, like he says, one of the strongest builds in the game, absolutely, extremely, extremely powerful. So much so that I actually think this is a pretty big candidate for being nerfed relatively hard next league. Also, we have Fuzzy Duckzy, my fellow duck gamer here, who has like 15 videos on Lightning Strike already for this league for Lightning Strike Raider. If you're interested in going a Raider version, you want a ton of content about it, Fuzzy Duckzy's probably got your back. And then beyond that, there probably are some other people for like Berserker and other things, but I think for the most part, you should probably be sticking with Champion and Raider. Now, next build on the list is going to be Minions in general. I know that's not a build, but this is my video and I can do what I want. So when it comes to Minions, there's two people I typically think of. That's going to be Gazzy and that's going to be K Gaming. K Gaming kind of does some like weirder archetype stuff and does a lot of exploration and lots of cool things. Gazzy kind of sticks to like the big, thick meta builds that are extremely powerful most of the time. This is a guy that you can see crafting like multiple mirror helmets and all kinds of crazy stuff. You can see that he has a Phantasm build. Phantasm Soul Rest was a pretty solid build a couple leagues ago. Should be good once again. He's got SRS if you're running like a tanky league starter. He's got Physical Carrion Golems. He's got Absolution Necromancer. He's got Chains of Command Animate Weapon, like Poison Animate Weapon. Like this dude has made like, I don't even know how many builds in the last couple of days. So if you need a minion build, here's like 6 of them that you can choose from, whatever flavor that you like. When it comes to K has got the SRS Guardian going right now. Also a variety of minion builds available here. Check her out as well. Got a bunch of good builds and she'll probably come up with some really interesting stuff as we move throughout the league. And last, but definitely not least, we've got Champion Fizdot, Corrupting Fever champion by the cat himself, Ruetoo. Now, how this creature, this cat, is able to make so many different builds when he is like locked inside of his cat cage 17 hours a day with like 600 to 700 12-year-olds just violently shaking it, screaming cat W at him. I have no idea how he gets everything done. It's insanely impressive. His builds are always extremely powerful. They lean towards being extremely tanky and focus on tankiness. If you're wanting something that is just a giga map clear that'll be able to blast and blast and blast and blast, you want to make a bunch of money, Champion Fizdot is always going to be one of the better ones to do that. Now, this build is a little bit rough when it comes to boss damage. It can do them, but don't expect to be doing like any like huge crazy bosses with this build. This is really just a map blaster. Get a bunch of currency and swap into that Lightning Conduit build that you know that you're going to try or probably league start with. Now, all of these builds are down in the description so you can kind of look at them, see which one looks like the one that you're going to go with, and hopefully find something to play for 3.19. Now, let's briefly talk about some runner-ups here. Now, I've got a short list that I've written down here, and I want to go over some of them. Now, you might know that Seismic Trap got heavily nerfed. However, I think Seismic Trap is actually going to be fine. This build, at least for softcore, was so oppressively insane. The amount of damage that it did was absolutely absurd. The build will be perfectly fine. You can still run it if you really want to. Almost nothing has changed about it. You probably want to get like a little bit more increased duration on your gems now, but it really is still going to be absolutely nuts. It's not as good as it was before, and it did get nerfed more than the other big meta builds, talking about things like Explosive Arrow, but it is still going to be very powerful. If you're interested in playing Lightning Conduit will probably be okay, but it's going to be like a 1-2 playstyle, so do be aware of that. And it might be a little janky. We don't exactly know how it's going to feel, but from what I remember, ZyTV made a guide for it, and that is posted on Zizaran's channel, and I'm pretty sure Rue has a POB for it, and I think those two POBs are relatively similar as well, so you can follow whichever one you want. Zy's is probably going to be a little bit better for newer players. Rue's will probably be pretty min-max and stuff like that. I haven't really looked at them too in depth, so don't take my word for that, but I do think Conduit could be pretty solid. Another build that I want to mention real quick, and there's been a lot of drama about this, and it's impressive to me that there can actually be so much drama among like 30-year-old plus men who like sit in their basement and play with a third party, you know, tool of a video game all day, every single day. It's impressive to me that there's so much drama about it, but there is an Eye of Winter mine Inquisitor build by Path of Math that's floating around. Something that you have to understand about like the builds and stuff that he creates is that they are meant to be for what he is trying to do. Eye of Winter Mines is fine. His version, yeah, it's probably not got like any crazy tankiness, and it probably isn't good for most people, but it's good for what he wants to do. This dude makes like 50 mirrors or more a league. He obviously knows what he's doing. But just keep in mind that if you are an extremely new player and you don't know what you're doing, you probably don't want to follow exactly what he does. Beyond this, Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder is still going to be perfectly fine. I know that Palsteron made a max roll guide, and there's a couple more floating around. There is also BFBB Occultist. It's like a poison delivery system BFBB. It's actually pretty okay. It's a 1-2 playstyle again. I'm pretty sure that Lily has a video about it. I think Kobe's got a Venom Geyer build, which should be pretty solid and should scale up pretty well with gear. And that is about all I can think of off the top of my head for what I've been personally paying attention to. So that is going to be it for the video. Just want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. Each and every one of you do make these videos possible, and I appreciate every single one of you. If you're interested in more information, down in the description, patreon.com/bigducks. I hope you guys have a good league start. I'll see you all in 3.19, and remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in raid class, and I'll see you guys in 3.19. Lake of Kalandra.